Welcome. Glad to see you all here, and welcome to the first virtual Turtlemania presentation. And we're going to do this with some video clips from turtle shows that I've done in the past, and then I have some live animals to jump in with occasionally. So before we get started, though, I'll just let others, get their, logging on and all that stuff working for them. Just going to talk a little bit about, why I do all of this. And so, first of all, it's exciting to, get kids involved and do fun, exciting stuff. So, here we can see we got a big snake in a school. This guy over here, I'm not quite sure. He's not real excited about the whole thing. Didn't even notice. Just thought it was funny when I got the picture back later that he was there off on the side, and not real excited about the whole snake being out there. But beyond getting kids excited about all kinds of organisms, I have a charitable foundation that I'm always working for, and that is Hawksbill Hope. And Hawksbill Hope was originally started to conserve and protect sea turtles, and working with Kevin Andrewen down in Gales Point, working there to make sure those hawksbill sea turtles were protected. I found that I fell in love with the community, and in 2017 we started sending those kids to high school. And so this is a group of myself with Marymount students and Luce Hunter and Nancy Bailey. Luce Hunter, naturalist down in Belize, and Nancy Bailey, the owner of the Manatee Lodge where we stay. And the Marymount students, and also all kinds of my Hawksbill Hope scholars. And my Hawksbill Hope scholars are kids that in 2017 we started putting these kids into high school. Cost them about $300 a year to go to high school, US, and what we did was Hawksbill Hope changed its mission, and by changing its mission, we now support every child that is eligible and wanting to go to high school. We send them to high school in Belize. So we'll have a fundraiser coming up later in the summer. We're doing a Hawksbill Hope fun run and 5K. And so here is what that t-shirt looks like, and I'll give you the link to register for that if you wanted to register for that. Additionally, you could also choose to take or get, in addition to that, the medal, and there's a picture of that medal. But we'll come back and talk about this as the presentation goes on. So for now, what I want to do is I want to give you my email address, and it's trimkus@marymount.edu, or better than that is turtleman@marymount.edu. And in fact, if you ever remember or forget anything, you can go, oh yeah, turtleman@marymount.edu. So the teachers that want me to come visit their classrooms or get involved in this in any way, anybody that wants to get involved in this in any way can certainly send me an email at turtleman@marymount.edu or trimkus@marymount.edu. The website for my foundation is hawksbillhope.org, and the registration for the 5K and the fun run is via that link right there. You can certainly email me at turtleman@marymount.edu and say, hey, I needed the link for the fun run and or the 5K, or more information on visiting classrooms or anything like that. So what I'm going to do right now is this presentation was from about 10 years ago, so I'm a little bit different looking, but I still have the same voice, so I got that going for me. So I'm going to start off with just letting you watch that presentation, and then we'll jump back in and stop it at a couple different points and do some question and answer if you had any questions. So let's go ahead and start.
How are you guys doing today? Good. Like Rich said, what did you guys say? Good, right? All right. So we're going to talk about snapping turtles and some painted turtles. And I have all sorts of turtles and all sorts of things to show you. And we're going to hold questions till the end. That way, I'll let you guys ask some questions, but that'll keep us rolling and keep you guys entertained, so you guys can see lots of cool stuff, because I have lots of cool stuff up here. All right, sound good, guys? All right. So what I like to start off with is talking a little bit about habitats. Do you guys know anything about habitats? You guys learn anything about habitats in school? I just need the lights maybe just a little bit lower in the front, not quite as low as they were. And when we're talking about habitats, we see that there are 4 things within a habitat. Do you guys remember what the 4 things that you might need in a habitat? What are the 4 things you need in a habitat? Right back there. Food is one thing. All right, so we're going to figure out what sort of things that turtles like to eat. Okay, but you have to realize that turtles live part of their life somewhere else before they're a turtle like this. Does anybody know where they start off? Well, there's a picture up there that should give you a pretty good hint, right? Yeah, they start off inside of eggs. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to meet the requirements for a habitat when you're in an egg, and how to meet the requirements for a habitat when you're on land. Okay, so 2 different times that the turtle has these questions that he needs to answer. So he's going to need to find food. What else is he going to need to find? In the blue? Water. So food and water. His parents. Well, guess what? Turtles, they're going to lay their eggs in the ground, never see mom again. Okay, so not parents. What do you think? Pardon? Okay, that's part of the habitat. That's part of the surroundings that they're going to have. So we have the food, the water. What else do we need? Okay, that's just things in the habitat. But there's requirements within a habitat. What are the things? Shelter. So we have food, water, shelter. What's the last one? Air. Food, water, air, and shelter. Okay? So when you're inside of an egg, you have to have food, water, air, and shelter. And when you're walking around on the land, you have to have food, water, air, and shelter. Okay? So let's start off in an egg. How are you going to get food when you're inside of an egg? Well, I got an idea. If you're inside of an egg and you want food, you unzip the egg, you run out, you go down to McDonald's. No, you can't do that. You're stuck inside of this egg. Where are you going to find food if you are inside of an egg? What do you think? Yeah, it's got to be something on the inside. Like what? The yolk. The yolk is the food for the turtle. The turtle actually sits right up on top of the yolk, and it attaches right to the middle of his shell, and it goes right into his stomach. It doesn't go in his mouth at all. It goes right into his stomach. And then after they're hatched, they pull the rest of the yolk inside of that hole, and so then the shell plates on the bottom move together and seal up. So it pulls all that yolk on the inside, because that turtle might have to walk a mile. Can you imagine being a turtle that is this big? A turtle that's this big, right here. That's a turtle. That's a real live turtle. And you guys will get to hold that in a little bit. We're gonna pass them around. Yep. Can you imagine? Now if I told you guys you guys have to go walk a mile right now, you guys will all complain, right? Oh, yeah. Can you imagine if you were this big? Can you imagine if you were this big and had to walk a mile? Actually, let's go with the lights up. That might be better. We can actually see these critters. All right? So that right there, that's a painted turtle. Okay? And that's a painted turtle that was hatched out this past summer. And here's a turtle going through the hatching process. So you can see them right out here. just breaking out of egg number K2. So what I do is after I collect the eggs from the turtles, I write numbers on them so I can keep track of them. So this one I noticed was getting ready to hatch. Actually, both of these were getting ready to hatch, but then this one started to really move on to hatching. So there he is starting to break out. And then there he is out a little bit further. And then further still. And then he's all the way out here. Okay? And then there he is. That's just like this little turtle that I have in my hand here. So that's, I don't know if this is K2 anymore. This is just about the size he was when he was hatched. He hatched out at the end of August. So it's only a couple months difference. Now, so to get the food, it's going right into the belly. Okay, how about water? You got to unzip the shell and run to the drinking fountain? No, you don't get to do that either. It's got to come right across the shell. So the water's going to come right across the shell. How about, what else do we need? Shelter. Where are you going to find shelter? Where do you think they're going to find this shelter? They're in the shelter. They're inside of the egg, which is shelter, and they're also buried below the ground. So that's two forms of shelter that they have. All right? So food, water, air, and shelter. Air. How are they going to get air? Let me show you how they get air. Let me go back to a slide over here. And this one, I might just shut the lights all the way down on this one for a second. And what we see, the lights will go all the way off, but don't worry about it. But what you can see is this is a light source right here, and the whole room is dark. And then what you see right here, what is that? Yeah, a vein. Who said a vein? It's a blood vessel. And that blood vessel runs right on the underside of the eggshell, and it's pulling the air, it's pulling the oxygen from the air around it, and pulling that oxygen right into the egg. So here's another one. This one you can see the turtle inside right here. That's his eye. And then that is part of the shell right there. Yep, this is his head right on this end right here. That's his head. And then the shell is up over this way. So pretty, yeah, and you can see my hand in there. All right, and then just hit the main one on the top. It'll go all the way up. Good. No, all I did is, it's a little box that has a light on it. You make the room dark, and then you put the egg right up to it, and then you can get a look on the inside of the egg. And then you take it off and bury him back in his box with his sand, and then he finishes incubation like that. So that's food, water, air, and shelter when you're inside of an egg. How about when you are outside of the egg? What do turtles use for food, water, air, and shelter when they're living like a turtle like these guys? What do you think? What do you think? So maybe somebody else. Food. What kind of food does a snapping turtle eat? Any ideas? Lettuce. Okay, so they eat plant material. How about animals? Do they eat animals too? Yeah, what sort of things do they eat? Worms, grasshoppers, fish. If it's a sea turtle, they'll eat jellyfish. So they eat both plants and they eat animals. So if you only ate plants, you'd be called an herbivore. If you only ate meat, you'd be a carnivore. What if you eat both? Omnivore. Are you guys omnivores? Yeah, so there's something you guys have in common with the turtle. All right, so food, water, air, and shelter. So we covered the food. How about water? If you want a drink of water, oh, I know, he crawls out of the tank, goes down the hall. No, you'd use that one, right? So, yeah, he's in water. If he wants a drink of water, all he has to do is open his mouth. Okay, how about air? Usually, here's one right down in the end here. Look at him. See him? He pulled his head up to the surface, stuck his nose just barely. I mean, you can see, if you look at the top, you can't even see it like breaking the surface. He's just barely touching the surface with his nose, and he has to breathe. So you'll see all of these guys every once in a while, their long necks will stretch out, and they'll take a breath. So that's food, water, air, shelter. Now, I had a question before we started. Someone said, where do these turtles get their shells from? I mean, that's a pretty shell, isn't it? Where did it come from? Did he go to the store and buy it? No. When he was born, he had the shell. The shell is part of his body. It's part of his backbone. If we look on here, we can see that the bones of his backbone are right into the shell. And that shell is growing right with him. Okay? So the backbone runs right inside of that shell. Okay.
All right, so that's a little bit of information about the habitats. And so now I'm going to introduce you to a very shy turtle here. Let's see if we can get, oh yeah, we can get a great picture of him right there. So this is Frank Abagnale Jr. And Frank was sprung from a shelter, and he's an African side neck. And so if you just saw him right there, he just poked his head out a little bit, and then he pulled it back in. And when they pull their heads back in, they pull it way over to the side. So that's an African side neck turtle. Here's a cute little guy here. This is a pink belly side neck turtle. And again, he's going to behave the same way. And as he gets afraid of something, he'll tuck his head in to the side and be shy that way. So again, oh, here's Frank. He's being a little more comfortable now. He's out. And so that's two side neck turtles, the pink belly side neck with the very bright colors of pink, and then the African side neck. And this is compliments of Jennifer from Manassas. She was the one who sprung this guy. And he gets to see all kinds of exciting stuff in the Marymount University Turtle Lab. So he's always, reporting back all the cool things that he's seen. So as we now introduced you to those turtles, now we're going to go look back and see what else we can see in this video. We'll go on to the next section.
We're going to look at, you guys are going to get a chance to look at painted turtles real close. Okay? So we're going to move on to looking at some different sizes of turtles. Before we do that, though, we have this guy that came out of the egg. So how do you get out of an egg? If you're inside of an egg, how do you get out? What do you think? What do you think? They have what? Yeah, they got to push. So actually, if I take a turtle egg and I start off with it, it's kind of flexible. It's a little bit spongy. It'll dent in. And then it's filling with water. Water's going inside, and so it actually plumps up a little bit. So actually, you know what they do? Turtles, how many teeth do turtles have? Let's talk about teeth for a second. How many teeth? If I looked inside of this set of jaws right here, okay, can you count teeth? See any teeth in there? No. There's no teeth. No teeth in an adult turtle. But if I gave you one tooth, and maybe I put it right on the tip of your nose, would that be a good idea? Yeah, it would. Look at this. Let's look at this guy. Oops. Stop. Good. Oh. Back. There. See that little white spot right on the front of his nose? That's a tooth. Okay? I'm going to give you a different view of it right here. You can see it a little bit better there, but you can see it really, really well on this next one. Look how sharp that tooth is. It's a little dagger, just a little straight point, right? Guess what he needs it for? When he's inside of the eggshell, he keeps his head way down. And then when he wants to hatch, he just lifts that head, and it actually zips that egg right open. It pops it open. Because it's under pressure, it's like taking a balloon and popping the balloon, but you're popping it from the inside, putting his head down, and zip, he pops it right open. And then he basically pops out of the shell. Okay? Now this guy was coming out slowly, because after he pops it right here, then he has to work his rest of his body out of there. All right? So jump back to, and we'll sit on that one. All right? So that's pretty cool, isn't it? You guys didn't know that turtle had teeth, did you? If I were to look at this little guy, he doesn't have it anymore. It's gone. So Turtle Tooth Fairy already had to come and visit these guys. What happens is about after a month, they don't need it anymore. They're not going to break out of an eggshell ever again. So it actually just falls off then. And so they don't have that sharp tooth on the end of their nose, and then they just have absolutely no teeth. All right, so turtles get one tooth. Let's talk about some different size turtles. Let's go through some different sizes of the snappers that I have here. I have some snappers that are 2 years old. They're right here. That's just a 2-year-old little snapping turtle. Sure he is. He's alive, yes. Why is he not snapping? Well, when they're small like this, and still handled, they usually don't snap. Now, I can get, well, let's see. I'll move to this one right here. This one's actually a different kind of turtle. This one's an alligator snapping turtle. And if I touch him right here, usually I can get him to open his mouth. See? So I don't want to put my finger right in front of his mouth because he will snap. And that one's got very, very sharp beak, and that's a different kind of turtle. We'll talk about him in a second. All right, so I have this turtle right here, and this turtle's name is Rover. And I taught Rover a trick. If you had an animal named Rover, what trick would you teach him? You would teach him how to roll over. So what I'm going to do is I'll go down. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Is there any way that we can maybe set that back up? I think if we do it on that screen, that might work out very well. So as he's setting that back up, I'm going to switch the video here to that source. Rich, you have to just slide forward and you'll plug in. So this is my 2-year-old turtle, and I'm going to put him on the projector there in a minute so we can see. We'll see him roll over. But as they're getting ready, I'll show you this next one. That's a 3-year-old turtle. So that's how big you could look if you were 3 years old. All right? Now, if you're 4, then you get to be about this big, right? And now this guy, he'll sometimes get a little mad at me, and he'll open his mouth too, right? So I don't want to put my finger very near his mouth. And this one's a 7-year-old turtle. These are all common snapping turtles. Now, do we have that? All right. I think. Yeah, zoom out. Yeah, watch. Okay. Yeah. So now, if you watch him, I'll tell him, just push down and it'll go all the way down. All right, ready? So I'll tell him, roll over, Rover. See him? Roll over. Roll over. See him? All right, you can hit the lights back on. So you could see that he kept wanting to flip over, right? You guys think that I really taught him a trick? No. He just wants to keep his nice hard shell facing upwards and not all these nice soft spots under here available for somebody to chew on. Like if you're a fox or a raccoon and you came across a turtle like this, that's a pretty good snack. You flip him over on his back and you just chew away. Have yourself some lunch. But if this turtle keeps flipping over and that mouth keeps snapping at you, maybe you change your mind and walk away. Because you got that nice hard shell up on the top, hard for that fox or raccoon to chew into you. All right. So if this guy right here is 7 years old, this one right here. Yeah, he's a little bit heavy. This one right here, this is a 15-year-old turtle. Uh-oh. I have a problem. What's the problem? This one I said it was a 7-year-old turtle. He's actually bigger than the one that I said is 15 years old. How could that possibly be? How could that be? How could you have a turtle that's Well, yeah, this turtle's dead, but this turtle was 15 years old, and then he became dead. All right, and what they did is they taxidermied him. That means you stuff him. They stuffed him with his head all the way extended. Why do you think that's important? So I can know how safe it is to pick up a snapping turtle. You think it's safe to pick up a snapping turtle like that? No way. That head would come right around and bite you, right? So the safest place to hold the turtle is right there. And you'll see when I'm holding the turtle like that, that's the way I'm holding them, right back like that. Okay, or by the tail. All right, so I have this turtle. He's 15 years old. That one, 7 years old. How come this one, which should be twice as big, shouldn't it be twice as big? Why isn't it twice as big? Nope, exact same turtle, same species. It's a very good question. This is a common snapping turtle. That's a common snapping turtle. What do you think? They go up to be about 80 years old, right? And we're going to get to ones that are bigger. I mean, if you have a head that's that big, right? Now you're talking a good 30-year-old turtle. Okay, so much bigger. So what do you guys think? How come this turtle? What do you think? They come in different shapes and sizes. That's true. What do you think? Oh no, I'll show you a bigger shell soon. I'm going to show you a shell on a turtle. I'm talking a turtle that's shell is about this big. That's coming right up. All right? I'm only going to show you a picture. You won't be able to see that one. What do you think? Let's think about where this guy lived, and let's think about where this guy lives. Think about the difference between where they're living. Yes. No, didn't lose any weight. What do you think? Okay, this turtle was running around in Iowa. And then someone caught him and taxidermied him. So, stuffed him. So this guy was having to find food and find his shelter, and then he had to do something every year that made him slow down very much. What did he have to do? They were talking about it when they in the book where he went into the mud. What were they doing? Hibernating. This guy went through 15 hibernations. This guy never hibernates. And also, when it comes time for food, the food magically falls from the sky for this turtle. He just looks up and, oh, there's more food falling, so he goes and eats it. This guy had to go hunt his own food. So a big difference between being a turtle that has to live in the wild and grow and a turtle that's hand-fed. Okay? All right, so that's the 15-year-old turtle. Like I said, this is a turtle that was maybe 20 to 30 years old. All right, I have two of those. I'm going to pass those around. But if we look at them, we notice something. You see the white on the skull? That's the actual bone. But you see the brown part? What's that? That's skin. That's skin that's still on the skulls. Okay? So I'm just going to pass that around. You guys can take a look at that. It's in two pieces, so you can put it together. And then I'll move one up. But what you should notice is that skin, that's a special skin. That's an extra hard skin. It's called, it's a protein. Its protein's called keratin. And you have some really hard skin on your body. Where do you have really hard skin? And I'm not talking calluses. I'm not talking about like the hands, like the soles of your feet or the palms of your hand. Where do you guys have some specialized extra hard skin? It helps you to pick up a penny. Well, somewhere on your fingers. If you didn't have it, you couldn't pick up a penny. Your fingernails. Okay? So that's this same protein. You can have a look at him. And that's why it's still on the skull. The regular skin, it went away, but that hard skin like fingernails, that's still on that skull. Oh, look at it. Look at the big guy up here. He's taking a breath. See the big guy up here? He's taking a breath. Like that. All right. That's still a common snapping turtle. This is a turtle that was caught in Prince William County. All right, I caught this turtle in Prince William County, and I went out on my boat, and I had some traps. I put the trap out. The next day I went back. Imagine finding a turtle like that in your trap. He was something. There's a little closer picture. So I let him go. So this turtle's probably about 80 years old in Prince William County. They have them in Alexandria. They have them in Arlington also, I'm sure. There's his claws, like those sharp claws. All right, and then there's one more picture of him there. I mean, his head, he's got a huge head. And that's a painted turtle. That's a little painted turtle. And here's the net. Here's the net that I caught him in. We can go to this slide, and you can see there's a big giant snapper right there. Okay? If you don't think that he's big, that's my foot right there. Okay? So he's at least 2 feet long. All right? So that's a big one in the bottom of the boat there. And then in here, here's a little snapper right here. There's another little snapper right there.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt right there, and you're thinking, yeah, sure, you show those big pictures of turtles, or pictures that are, the big giant turtles, but you don't have one. So I'm going to go right over here and get Frank, the motto, the mascot of the lab. I'll bring Frank over and we'll have a little close look at Frank here. All right, so there is one big boy. That is Frank the Tank, not to be confused with Frank Abagnale Jr. So Frank the Tank here, he is one big bad turtle, and he lives in the lab and he gets fed well. Now, somebody was asking a question earlier about the length of their necks. The reason that these turtles would have the big long neck like that was so that they can breathe if they're down in the bottom, hanging out near the bottom of a pond or a lake. They just then slowly put their head up, take that breath, and then come back down. Also, so that they can launch their head out and grab themselves a fish that's swimming by. So the next little segment, we're going to learn a little bit more about alligator snapping turtles. And then when we come back, I'll get out my alligator snapping turtle here, and we can see what that looks like in a little up close and personal. So.
It's a painted turtle. There's another painted turtle, another painted turtle. So lots of turtles in these traps. What was I trapping all these turtles for? The reason I was trapping all these turtles was to get their eggs, because I do research on their eggs. So that egg that you saw hatching was one of the eggs that I do the research on. I'm looking at how water crosses the shell, how the water that does cross the shell affects how large the turtles are that come out. All right, let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, here's an unhappy turtle trying to bite me while I'm trying to get him out of the trap. All right, so that one, we can go back to, we'll just sit on that one. That's a good looking one there. Now, if you have turtles that are that big, and those are common snapping turtles, the next turtle I want to talk to you about is an alligator snapping turtle. The alligator snapping turtle, I have one alligator snapping turtle, and that's this guy. And if you look at him, you'll see that he's got a hook on the front of his beak. Okay, you guys will get a chance to come down here and get a closer look at him in a little bit. But that hook on that beak, that's a very, very sharp beak so that he can really pierce into some things. Now, these turtles, they get to be about 200 pounds. That means that the shell is now about this big. Which means that the head is now about the size of my two hands together like this. Okay? So now let's say you're one of these big alligator snapping turtles and you want to get some food. Where do you think he's going to get food? You think that he's going to just jump up, start swimming around in that water and go chase down some fish? It's going to be tough, because if I was a fish in that same pond as him, and I saw it start to move over there, that big creature start to move in the corner, I'm out of there. I'm not going to wait to find out what that big thing is, right? So he's got to do some fishing. So these alligator snapping turtles, they actually go fishing. All right, so how do you think they can go fishing? Well, I know what it is. They have a fishing pole right in the middle of their shell, right? They pull it out and they catch fish. No, they don't. What they do is these big giant snapping turtles, they'll take and they'll just sit. They'll hunker down in the mud. They'll move their bodies into the mud, and then they'll sit there, and then they'll just open up their mouth like this. So how long do you think that you'd have to hold your mouth open like this in order for a fish to swim by close enough where you can snap them? A long time. A very long time. So the reason that I said he goes fishing is because he actually uses a lure. Did anybody ever use a lure when you go fishing? A lure is a fake fish or a plastic worm that you drag through the water, and it shakes around a little bit, and then the fish goes and chases it. All right. Well, here's what the turtle does. He's got his big mouth wide open like this, and inside he's got a bright red little tongue, and his tongue just sits up and waves in the water like that. It just waves back and forth, and he's just sitting there. All right? You hungry? Are you a fish? Pretend like you're a fish. Go ahead and get that worm. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? He just became lunch. He thought he was going to get lunch, but he became lunch instead. Right? So that's all he has to do. He just sits there, and he waits for a fish to get hungry. And when the fish gets hungry, he gets fed. He gets to chomp on that fish. What do you guys think? Pretty cool, huh? All right.
Okay, so I promised you I would show you a really nice size alligator snapping turtle. The little one in the video was, like I said, this is close to 10 years ago now, so that one's actually much bigger, and he's still living in the lab here at Marymount. But about 5 or 6 years ago, somebody dropped one off and said, this guy's too big for me to manage anymore, and so now we have this guy living in the turtle lab as well. And so let me grab that alligator snapping turtle. Before I do that, though, somebody had a question about the gills on these turtles. And turtles are reptiles, and so they get lungs, and so that necessitates that they definitely have to breathe air, and so the need for reaching the surface. So a long neck to reach up to the surface instead of having to swim up every time you need to take a breath. Let me grab that turtle. All right, so this is an alligator snapping turtle, and he's opening his mouth for us here. And if he looks down a little bit, maybe I give him a little tickle on the chin, we can see that right there, you can see that big bright red tongue in there. And that big bright red tongue in there is that lure. And so when that lure is sitting out there and in the water, once it's in the water, what it will do is it will start to dangle and move around with the water. So this guy is a huge snapping turtle, but still small relative to one that could be, close to 200 pounds. This one right here is probably about 20 to 30 pounds and getting pretty big, and has that big wicked beak and that cute little tongue inside there that he definitely wants to take a good look at me and see if he can get a good bite out of me. But okay, so we'll put him away. So all this outreach that I do for kids' classrooms is lots of fun for me. And as you saw in that very first picture, I also bring snakes. And so I do snakes, and I've done praying mantis and millipedes and talked about all kinds of different organisms in a little thing I used to do called Experts in the Fields and Streams. And so we would just have a topic, and I'd come in and talk about whatever that was. So let me get one of our other creatures that usually attends sessions with me when we go out and go to classrooms. And this guy is Clyde, and Clyde is a boa constrictor. And so you can see Clyde there, and he's going to give you a nice, good look at his tongue. And so, you know, when we talk to kids, these animals are going to do behaviors like the one we see right here where he's sticking and flicking out his tongue. And the reason he's flicking out his tongue is he's sensing the environment around him. And snakes have that forked tongue, and they also have, on top of their palate, in their mouth, there's places where when their tongue comes in with that fork, it'll touch the palate. And so if chemicals are hitting and collecting on the tongue, what happens is that tongue will come in and touch, and if over on the right as opposed to the left there's more chemicals that smell like rats, then maybe I'll go that way and hopefully find some lunch. So let me see, my wife has a question for me. It says, how many years does a snapping turtle live? And so those snapping turtles can live from 80 to 100 years, and definitely get as big as we saw that one in the picture. Frank is probably about a 40, 50, 60-year-old turtle, somewhere in there, hard to tell. We got him as a full-grown turtle. This snake is a boa constrictor, and boa constrictors are not dangerous, except for when they get big like this and they can wrap around you. They're not poisonous. So no venom. They do bite every once in a while. I've definitely gotten bit by snakes, but we try to avoid that as often as possible. And the process of working with all of these animals has given me this ability to go ahead and take these critters into classrooms and get, you know, that next generation, those kids, excited about what science is all about, and what cool creatures these are, and what they what kind of research can be done to what kind of research can be done to find out more about them. Somebody had a question about how long they get. The boa constrictor here, this guy, even though he's all coiled up like this, he's about 7.5 feet long, and they can get 10 to 12 feet long, and they can live for 30 or more years as well. So these snakes and turtles, you know, can come to classrooms near you, and again, all you have to do is contact me, and we can talk about those arrangements. Again, it's turtlemania@marymount.edu, and I can put that slide back up, I guess. That one, hopefully, maybe. There we go. Turtlemania@marymount.edu or Trimkus@marymount.edu. The website for Hawksbill Hope is hawksbillhope.org, and you can also find us on Facebook and like us or ask to be friends on Facebook. And that registration for the 5K and the fun run is that link right there. So I think that's all the critters I brought with me or have here at Marymount in an easy way to grab. Appreciate you guys all coming and checking out the critters, and thanks for watching. This was a lot of fun, really enjoyed it. So there was a question about me actually getting a kiss from this snake, and that definitely happened. This snake's tongue decided that it wanted to find its way to my cheek, and it did. Tasting me, obviously found out that I'm not a rat, and therefore I didn't get bit there. So thank you all very much for tuning in and watching us. I had a lot of fun. I'm going to go back to the slide that shows the different things that go with the fun run and things like that. And so let me put down this snake and I can get back to that.
Can they see?
See what?
Can the snake see? Did you say Clyde's age? Shannon Miller wants to.
Snakes definitely see very well. That was a question that I just got. And what was the other question?
How old is Clyde?
Oh, how old is Clyde? Clyde's about 5 years old. And again, you know, they get big fast and then they slow down quite a bit as they grow from there. So again, registering for the 5K and fun run is you're eligible to get the medal or the, I don't know what happened to that now. Yeah, or the t-shirt, but my screen just disappeared because I got water on the computer. So anyhow, let me shrink this one down. Can't do it because it's wet. There we go. All right, and then here's the t-shirt, again with the fun run and virtual 5K. And here's my wonderful kids from the village of Gales Point again, just showing them. And we can finish off with, maybe I can get that to get bigger. I can do this. And we just finish off with this one right here where we can see that not everybody's always thrilled about the organisms I bring. And we got our friend here who's not real excited, but we got kids who are really, really thinking it's great. And then here the girl that gets to mess with the head, she wasn't too sure, but we walked her through it and got her excited about it. And if I would have known that this guy down here wasn't excited at all, I certainly would have drew him in as well. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had fun. I always have fun every time I get an opportunity to see, to get some kids excited about organisms and get them excited about snakes and turtles. So thanks for your time, and have a good day. And if you have any questions at all, turtleman@marymount.edu, and I will send you any information that you'd like about any of this. Thank you very much. Have a good day.